What do I do with this?
You will have to take it off, Minister.
Okay. I always hear from you. Thanks, Ranzo. The National Commissioner of the South African Police, General Cele, National Head of TIPSI, General Lebia, Deputy National Commissioners, all here, Mamchina, Mamvuma, Masimula, Provincial Commissioners are all here. Provincial Commissioners, except two that are represented, Northwest and Limpopo, but they are all here. The Acting Secretary of Police, Mr. Takan Ramula, Divisional Commissioners, Senior SEPS Officers, Head Office entities, all heads of department, members of the media. This afternoon, the country will get a glimpse of the police recorded crime statistics for the third quarter of the 21-22, covering the period 1st October to 31st December 2021. It is during this time that the SEPS in all provinces put in place their unique safe festive season operational plan. These plans ensured that crime was kept to the minimal by doubling up efforts to safeguard the security of the Republic. It is also public knowledge that during the festive season, criminals tend to use this time of festivities to target members of the public for their criminal gains. Certainly, the festive season used to be characterized as a free-for-all for criminals with the increase of conduct crimes and commercial crimes. However, this is not the case this time around. The national crime statistics of the 3 months of reporting show significant reduction in the number of crimes committed and reported to the SEPS. We have recorded significant decrease in most of the crime categories. Crimes such as common robbery, sexual assault, attempted sexual offences, and contact sexual offences have recorded 3 to 4 digits decrease, except for murder, which remains worryingly stubborn. In the 3 months of reporting, an 8.9% increase in murder was recorded. That is 562 more people were killed in South Africa between October and December compared to the same period in 2020. Out of 6,859 people killed in the country, 902 of them were women and 352 were children. 232 of the overall murders were as a result of domestic violence. 27 SEPS officers were killed on and off duty during this time. The Northwest Province recorded the highest increase of murder cases, up by 24.3% when compared to the corresponding period in the previous financial year. Fewer people were killed in the Free State and Western Cape provinces in the last 3 months of 2021. Both of these provinces recorded decrease in their murder figures. A double digit of 21.1% decline in murder cases was recorded in Free State, and this is most welcome. Our Free State. While all provinces are unique, their crime patterns and policing approach, as the ministry, we urge provincial management of the SEPS to self-reflect and sharpen some of the approaches when dealing with conduct crimes. The top 4 causative factors of these deaths are arguments, vigilantism, robberies, and revenge or retaliation. A total of 2,599 people were murdered in public places, such as an open field, street parking areas, and abandoned buildings. The second most likely place to murder to occur is at the home of the victim or the perpetrator. Liquor outlets were the third most likely place to be killed in South Africa. Some of the increases in murder are attributed to multiple murders where a number of people are killed in one incident. Overall conduct crime committed against persons decreased by 4%. A 9.0 decrease has been recorded for sexual offences. Despite this drop, 11,315 people were raped between October and December 2021. This is a decrease of 903 rape cases compared to the previous reporting period. All 9 provinces recorded decrease in rape cases. Over 5,012 of the rape incidents took place at the home of the victims or the home of the rapists. 674 rapes were domestic violence related, and 632 of rape cases in this category involved female victims and 42 were males. The Eastern Cape Lusikisiki Police Station and Umlazi and Inanda Station in KwaZulu-Natal recorded the highest incidents. Anyway, these 3 police stations, they just exchange between and among themselves. The decrease in some of the sexual offences, especially rape cases, can be attributed to all provinces increasing their GBVF awareness campaigns. This includes contact meetings with SEBs and communities. The service has also ramped up its communication and sensitization on GBV crimes through print, television, and radio mediums. The publication of convictions in all provinces has increased, which serves as a deterrent to perpetrators. The implementation of the National Strategic Plan on GBVF by various government stakeholders gaining ground, and there is increased synergy by all departments in prioritizing this crime. Commissioner, must and should be done. Members of the media, let me remind the nation that the GBV and femicide remains a priority crime of the SEBs. I again call all SEBs members to continue to improve their responses and service delivery to victims and survivors of GBF at station level. Dedicated GBVF desks are now available at 381 police stations across the country. The establishment of the GBF desk will be finalized at the end of March this year, which means every police station in the country, more than 1,000 of them, will have this desk. 91,489 police officers have been trained in victim empowerment, domestic violence, sexual offences related programs. This will ensure victim-centered service is provided by officers at police stations. Focused policing has been our biggest arsenal for the SEBs against this scourge. Through our 185 FCS units, including 9 serious electronic crime investigation units, detectives are solidly focusing their efforts and expertise in investigating crime against women and children. The FCS has handed down 272 life sentences for crimes committed against women and children since April. That is less than a year. That is less than a calendar year. Some of these sentences included the convictions of serial rapists who have been rightfully handed down heavy sentences. Sergeant Livwani Ramatavana, attached to SEB's FCS unit in Gauteng, led an investigation that resulted in a Gauteng serial rapist being sentenced to 16 life imprisonment. Tebogo Majeke was also handed down an additional 150 years for several cases of kidnapping and robbery. Police in the Free State have arrested a serial rapist who has been accused of the rape of 13 women. These crimes took place between 2009 and 2013. In Gauteng, 23-year-old Professor Meli, that is his name, Meli, was convicted to life imprisonment for 6 counts of rape, kidnapping, and robbery. The serial rapist was arrested for targeting a woman in Everton in Gauteng, assaulting her before raping her. While in prison, his DNA sample was taken and through our forensic science laboratories, he was traced to several other rape cases in the Everton area. Another arrest as a result of DNA analysis has resulted in Soweto-born Opa Morgan linked to 7 rape cases. Between 2014 and 2018, the serial rapist broke into his victim homes, threatened them with a firearm or knife before raping them. He proceeded to rob them of their personal belongings. Morgan was in June 2021 sentenced to 11 life sentences. In KwaZulu-Natal, 25-year-old Tumelo Kiba was in November 2020 sentenced to life for the rape of 7 women in Pinetown. In the same province, a 50-year-old man accused is before the courts for the alleged of raping 22 women. The accused was arrested in January for crimes that occurred in the Durban CPD dating back to 2008. Ladies and gentlemen, these are some of the cases I needed to highlight to demonstrate the importance of the removal of serial rapists in society. Arresting one rapist saved multiple women from this violent crime that has no place in our society. More of these arrests will ensure decreased rape incidents in public places, which is the second most likely place of occurrence for the rape incidents. Really hope these jail terms also reassures victims of GBF crimes that the signage from law enforcement working better with prosecution is yielding encouraging results. These statistics also show that many sexual assaults, such as rape, happen behind closed doors among people who are known to each other. We therefore also call on the communities to be more proactive in the prevention of this crime that is often difficult to police. On the same token, we welcome the 3 new pieces of legislation signed in January aimed at strengthening efforts to end the GBVF. The amendment of the Criminal Law Sexual Offences and Related Matters Amendment Act, the Criminal and Related Matters Amendment Act, and the Domestic Violence Amendment Act will surely strengthen not only the country but the SAP's responses to the GBF. Domestic Violence Amendment Act progressively introduces online application for the protection order against acts of domestic violence. We are encouraged that the acts will ensure the victim-centered focus and make it more difficult for perpetrators to escape justice. These legislations will, amongst many interventions, tighten bail and usher in minimum sentencing provisions for GBF accused. In the farming community, 11 people were killed in 11 incidents of murder which occurred in farms and small holdings. 3 of these murders were either farm dwellers, workers, or passerbys who were reported to have been murdered as a result of an attack by the farm owner or the farm manager. There was some good news for those who own property and livestock. All property-related crimes decreased by 7.7%, and the Mpumalanga province recorded a double-digit decline of 15.2%. Burglary at residential and non-residential premises declined drastically. Theft of vehicles and motor vehicles also declined by over 20%. A total of 7,404 cases of stock theft were opened. This crime declined by 450 cases compared to the corresponding period in the previous financial year. Arson cases have increased over this period of reporting, with 963 cases reported from October to December. Contrary to some perception that arson has increased following the torching of Parliament in January this year, these statistics show that the crime of arson has been prevalent and fueled by various reasons, including domestic conflict. Assault GBVH figures have shown drastic decrease, with over 3,611 less cases reported during this reporting period. While the decrease is welcome, the number of assault cases is still too high and shows that violence still stalks many communities and is often fueled by alcohol abuse. 46,513 cases of assault GBH and 47,081 cases of common assault were opened with the police in the 3 months of reporting. Arguments, road rage, intervention in a fight, and robbery are some of the leading causes of the assault GBH. Out of 46,513 cases of assault GBH, 2,048 were children under 17 years. Aggravated robberies such as carjacking increased by 13.8%. There were 661 more carjacking cases in the period of October to December 2021. Robberies at the residential premises dipped by 0.4%, and robberies at non-residential premises increased by 86 more cases, resulting in 5,138 of such cases reported to the police. Cash in transit heist also decreased during this reporting period. There were 5 less cash vans targeted by criminals compared to the previous reporting period. Gauteng, which is the province where this crime is most prevalent, has recorded the largest decrease of 9 less cases. The observed decreases in CIT robberies in Gauteng, Mpumalanga, and Western Cape are attributable to the specialized CIT task teams established countrywide to infiltrate and take down these well-organized and sophisticated criminal gangs. Kidnapping, 2,605 kidnapping cases were opened with the police. This crime trend has shown a decrease in only 2 provinces, and the leading motive for this crime is hijacking, followed by robbery and rape-related kidnapping. There have been 686 more cases of kidnapping compared to the same comparative period. At conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, these crimes figures show how far solid plan, targeted policing and resourcing can go. We have committed to improve our state of policing through specialized policing and refocusing our efforts and expertise in taking down organized crime syndicates. Over and above the CIT and kidnapping specialized units, the SAPS has also established specialized units to deal with organized crime in KZN, Eastern Cape and Gauteng. In addition to the specialized units within the DPCI, it is also encouraging that the Western Cape and Gauteng provinces boast fully functional murder and robbery units. Organized crime investigation units are also on board in tackling murder and robberies, as well as taxi violence in KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape. There is no doubt that capacitation of the South African Police Service with the recruitment of 12,000 trainees this year will further add to the gains of the service. The statistics are not necessarily a win for the SAPS, but they are certainly an improvement. The last 3 months of 2021 were not a free-for-all for criminals. It is through the acceleration of this policing momentum and improving of our working relationship with communities through community-based structures such as community policing fora, structures of the NGOs who have also been in the forefront of the fight against the scourge. That is, crime picture can be improved. Let me end off by reminding communities that complaints of wrongdoing by any police officers at any police stations through the service complaint center of can report the center of 0800-333-177. Tip-offs and complaints can also be sent to the MySAPS app, www.saps.gov.za. Other transgression by police should be directed to the Independent Police Investigation Directorate. Therefore, with those words, I will request that Major General Skukuni comes and gives us the really raw figures to know what really happened. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Minister. National Commissioner, Deputy National Commissioner's colleagues, members of the media. I will be taking you through the third quarter of the 2020-2021 financial year crime statistics, which cover the period from October to December 2021. Without wasting much time, I will go into the details of the crimes that have been reported in the country, starting with the table that by now we should all be familiar with. That is the table overview of the country, South Africa. In the current quarter, we have reported 6,859 murders, that is 562 more than the previous quarter. Sexual offenses 14,188, that is a reduction of 1,407. Attempted murder 5,645, an increase of 193. Assault GBH 46,513, a decrease of 3,611. Common assault 47,081, a decrease of 794. Common robbery 10,524, a decrease of 1,298. Robbery with aggravating circumstances 34,143, a decrease of 456. And overall, the broad category of contact crimes, we have reported 164,953. That is a decrease of 6,811. Now, going into the breakdown of the sexual offenses, where we break down the composition crimes that make up the sexual offenses, starting with rape, we have recorded 11,315, a decrease of 903. Sexual assault 2,069, a decrease of 321. Attempted sexual offenses 524, a decrease of 101. Contact sexual offenses 280, a decrease of 82. And the total sexual offenses, as we have already indicated above there, we have recorded 14,188 with a decrease of 1,407. Then the subcategories of robbery with aggravating circumstances, starting with the carjacking, we have 5,455 carjacking in the current quarter, an increase of 661. Robbery at residential premises 5,760, a decrease of 21. Robbery at non-residential premises 5,138, an increase of 86. Robbery of cash in transit 60, that is 5 less than the previous quarter, which was 65. And then bank robberies, there were 6, which were reported in the provinces of Western Cape, Eastern Cape, and Gauteng, with 2 each in the 3 provinces. Truck hijacking, we had 448, an increase of 12. Now, when we take into consideration the total population of the country and then calculate the specific contact crimes with regard to the population of the country to compute the per capita contact crimes, we find that we have reported 11.4 murders per 100,000 of the population. Rapes were 18.8 per 100,000. Attempted murder 9.4 per 100,000. Assault GBH 77.1 per 100,000. Common assault 78.0 per 100,000. Common robbery 17.4 per 100,000. And the base series that we use to compute this the estimates were the 2017 series, and hopefully that Status A is undertaking a census. We will be provided with updated figures after the census has been completed. Now, on the same trajectory, when we take into consideration the murder for all the provinces and also juxtapose it with the population per province, we find that the highest per 100,000 of the murders were reported in the province of Eastern Cape with 18.7 per 100,000, followed by the Western Cape with 15.1 per 100,000, KwaZulu-Natal 14.2 per 100,000, Gauteng 10.3 per 100,000, Free State 8.3 per 100,000, Northern Cape 8.0 per 100,000, Northwest 7.2 per 100,000, and Mpumalanga 6.6 per 100,000. Then finishing up the table as we normally are accustomed to, going to contact-related crimes, we had 963 cases of arson, that is 6 counts more. Malicious damage to property, we had 30,658, that is 626 more. And the total contact crimes, we had recorded 31,621, an increase of 632. Then the broad category of property-related crimes, we have recorded decreases across all the 5 crimes that make up property-related crimes, leading with burglary at non-residential premises with a decrease of 1,142, burglary at residential premises a decrease of 3,148, theft of motor vehicle and motorcycle a decrease of 323, theft out of motor vehicle or motorcycle a decrease of 2,527, stock theft a decrease of 450, and the total property-related crime decreased by 7,584. Overall, for the 17 community-reported crimes for this current quarter, we have reported 9,864 counts. That is a decrease of 2.5. Then going on to the pictorial representation of the 17 community-reported crimes covering the 3 months that make up the quarter, we have recorded decreases across all the months of October, November, and December. And the only province that has recorded an increase was the province of Limpopo. The other 8 provinces recorded decreases. Then in the 17 community-reported crimes, using the volumes of the crime that have been reported in that particular station, we found that the Cape Town Central was the highest station, which had the highest number of crimes that have been reported. That is 2,288. Honeydew, number 2, with 2,173. Johannesburg Central, 2,101. Devon Central, 1,946. And Park Road, 1,897. Those make up the top 5 stations in terms of volume. Now, if you take into consideration and sort by the total number of increases per particular crime for the 17 community-reported crimes, the stations that had the highest increases in terms of the count difference was Cape Town Central at 499, Phoenix 456, Kagiso 242, Cambridge 231, and Chula Busiku 228. And then Mulachan was a new police station which has recorded 204, and because it's a new police station, there are no numbers for the previous quarter. So the 204 is also captured as if it is the count difference, whereas it is the actual number of counts that have been reported in that particular station. Then going into the contact crimes, again for the 3 months covering October, November, and December, we have recorded decreases across the months of October, November, and December. The decrease in October was 2,152, followed by another decrease of 1,140 in November, and then in December we had 3,519 decrease in terms of the contact crimes. And the only province that had recorded an increase in terms of the contact crimes was the province of Limpopo with 185 more, a 1.8% increase. Then in terms of the volumes of the contact crime that had been reported in these stations, the leading one is Johannesburg Central, followed by Alexander and Temba, and the 3 provinces are all in the Gauteng province. And then number 4, we had Plessis Liar and Umfuleni, that is both in the Western Cape and KwaZulu-Natal respectively. Then contact crimes, using the count difference as the measure to sort with, the station that had reported the highest count difference was Verulam with 150, Harare 145, KwaDukuza 139, Phoenix 129, and Cape Town Central at 120. Then going into the murder, that is some of the crime that make up the contact crime, starting with the murder. We have recorded increases across the months of October to December, that is all the months that make up the quarter. The increase in October was 276, in November was 114, in December was 172. That is in comparison to the previous period in the comparative period. And the provinces that have recorded the decreases were the province of the Free State, that is 65 counts less, that is from 308 to 243, resulting in a 2.1% decrease. Western Cape from 1,134 to 1,056, 78 counts less, and a percentage change of 6.9. Then in terms of the volumes, in terms of the murder, the highest station that had recorded the highest volume in terms of the murder was Inanda at number 1, Delft number 2, Umlazi 3, Plessis Liar 4, and Mfuleni at number 5. In terms of the increases, we had Alexander with 23 counts of murders more, Inanda with 20 counts of murders more, Tembisa with 20 counts of murders more, Kamesh 19 counts more, and Kagiso with 18 counts more. And then in terms of the causative factors leading up to the selected contact crimes, but only focusing on the murder, where we have drawn a sample of 80%, that is 5,402 counts that had been reported. That makes up 80% of the total murders that have been reported to the police within the current quarter. When we look at the causative factors, the leading causative factors was established to be arguments and misunderstanding that are not domestic related, with 1,151. At number 2, we had mob justice or vigilantism with 357. At number 3, we had those murders that happened jointly with the robbery at 345. At number 4, we had retaliation, revenge or punishment, with 302 of the murders attributable to retaliation and revenge. At number 5, we had taxi-related attributable to those murders. Number 6, we had those that were committed during another offense, not robbery or rape, with 47, and 36 were murders that resulted as a result of a completed carjacking or as a result of an attempt to hijack, but which was not successful. Those attributable to 36 of the murders that have been committed in the current quarter. Then in terms of women and children, we had 902 women that had been killed in the current quarter. That is from 866 to 902, resulting in an increase of 36. And then in terms of the children, we had that is the boys and the girls between the ages of 0 and 17. We had in the quarter of 2020, we had 373. Current quarter, we had 352. That is a decrease of 21 or 5.6% decrease. Now, looking at the causative factors in terms of what leads to these murders, and also taking into consideration the provincial breakdown, we had already established that arguments were the highest causative factor, but when we look in terms of the provincial breakdown, we realized that the province of KZN had more murders attributable to arguments, that is 383, and the Western Cape with 164, indicating arguments as the causative factor of murder. Then at number 3, we had the Eastern Cape with 131. Then in terms of robberies, where it was indicated that the murder happened jointly with the robbery, the highest province that indicated such a phenomenon was KZN with 132 of the murders committed during a robbery. Then the second highest was the Western Cape with 52. The third was Gauteng with 50. And then at number 4, we had Eastern Cape with 44. Now, gang-related phenomenon contributed to 107 murders in the Western Cape, and 3 each in the Eastern Cape and Gauteng province, and 1 in Northwest, and in total 114 murders were attributable to gang-related phenomena. Then illicit mining was indicated in 23 of the murders, whereby 12 of these were in the province of Northwest. Then the Free State had, Gauteng had 6, and then Limpopo had 3, and also the Free State had 1. Then in terms of the places of occurrence where the crimes occurred, using the very same sample size, we found that most of the murders happened in public places, that is 2,599. The second highest was at the residence of the perpetrator with 1,510. The third highest was at liquor outlets, shebeens, taverns, nightclub, and bottle stores, resulting in 252 of the murders. At number 4, we had at the mode of transport, that is inside a bus, a car, or a taxi. Then at number 5, we had business premises, that is at malls, restaurants, workplaces, etc. Then at number 6, we had murders that had happened at tuck shops, and number 7, we had those that had happened at public transport premises, that is at your taxi rank, railway stations, etc. Then, in terms of the murders of police officials, we have current quota reported 27 police officials that had been killed. That is 2 more than the previous comparative period, which had 25. So we had 2 more police officers that were killed. Then in terms of the breakdown of on duty and off duty, 20 of the officers were killed off duty and 7 were killed while they were on duty. And this number excludes other law enforcement officers like the Metro Police and other security personnel, whereby in the other breakdown we shown that additional 10 personnel that are in the security industry were killed. Then looking at the murders of the farming community, in the previous quarter we had 22 murders that had happened within the farming community, and current quarter we had 11. That is a reduction of 11 when comparing the 2 comparative periods. And these 11 incidents happened whereby each resulted in 1 victim, meaning that 11 incidents resulted in 11 victims. And of these 11 victims that were recorded at the farming community, 7 of those were whereby farm dwellers or farm workers were attacked by farmers or farm management. So 3 of these murders were attributable to instances whereby a farm dweller was either killed by a farm manager or other farmers. Then when we look at the contribution of alcohol and drugs to the crimes, at the top graph there, the lines, the bar graph, we have instances whereby it was confirmed that alcohol or drugs were involved during the commission of the crime. So 280 murders, it was indicated that the victim or the perpetrator had used alcohol during the commission of the murder, and 16, it was indicated that drugs were involved when that murder was committed. Then 1,305 rapes were attributable to instances where alcohol was used, and 107 rapes were attributable to drugs. Assault GBH, 5,671 were attributable where it was confirmed that alcohol was used, and 134, it was confirmed that drugs were used. Those that happened at a place where alcohol is being sold, that is at the liquor outlet or a shebeen, tavern, pub, 252 murders happened at such facilities, and 209 attempted murders happened at such facilities. 90 rapes happened at shebeens, clubs, pubs, bars, and 3,000 incidents of assault GBH happened at such facilities. I will skip the slides on attempted murders and go into the rapes that have been reported in the current quarter. Across all the months of October, November, and December, we have recorded decreases in terms of rape, with a decrease in October resulting in 256, in November 268, in December 379, and all the provinces have recorded decreases in terms of the rapes that have been reported as compared to the previous comparable period. Then in the top 30 stations, in terms of the volumes that have been reported within that particular station, we have the highest volume reported in Lusikisiki in the Eastern Cape, that is 92 rapes, followed by Umlazi in KZN with 85, Inanda again in KZN with 76, Delft in the Western Cape with 71, and Harare in the Western Cape with 67. Those stations make up the top 5 stations where most of the volumes of the rapes have been reported. Now, if you filter using the increases in terms of the count differences of rape, you have that the highest count difference was recorded in Kwaduguza with 29 rapes more compared to the previous quarter. Then Manfred with 25 more compared to the previous quarter. Pretoria Central with 22 more, and then Lusikisiki with 21 more, and then Jozini again with 21 more. Now, the places of occurrence in terms of the rape, where most of the rapes are happening. Oops, is that my mouse? Okay. I'll try and move with the buttons. In terms of the rapes, most of the rapes happened at the residence of the perpetrator. From a sample of 7,868, we had a sample that has been drawn, which indicated that most of the rapes, that is 5,012, happened at the residence of the perpetrator or the victim, including residents known by the victim. And the highest province where these rapes happened was KZN with 1088. The second highest was the Eastern Cape with 985. The third highest was the Western Cape with 718. Public places again was the second highest with KZN at 319. Second was Gauteng with 272, and then the Eastern Cape with 263. I think it's stopping my mouse from working. General?
Hard copy. Go.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I found that. Then now looking at the selected domestic violence related crimes, these are instances we have already talked about these particular crimes, but now we are looking more at the relationship between the perpetrator and the victim and try to determine whether there was some kind of a domestic relationship between the victim and the perpetrator. This is not in addition to all the murders that we have reported on. This is just the, separating and trying to show compactually in terms of where and how and the relationships between the victims is happening. So for domestic crimes, we have had 232 murders having been indicated that the victim had a relationship with the perpetrator, and of these, 117 were women and 115 were male. Then in terms of the provincial breakdown, we had the Eastern Cape recording the highest number of murders attributable to domestic violence. Then the second highest was Gauteng, which indicated that 42 of these murders were attributable to Gauteng. And then KZN at number 3, which indicated that 34 of these murders were attributable to domestic violence. Then in terms of the rape, we had 674 rapes where it was indicated that the perpetrator and the victim had some kind of a relationship. And of these, 632 were female and 42 were male. And then in terms of the breakdown, most of these happened in the Western Cape with 155. Number 2 was Gauteng with 133. Number 3 was Eastern Cape with 102. And number 4 was KwaZulu-Natal with 68 of the rapes having been committed by the person who is known to the perpetrator, either as an ex-boyfriend, ex-husband, uncle or brother, etc. But there is that domestic relationship between the perpetrator and the victim. Now, going into the subcategories of robbery with aggravating circumstances, starting with the carjacking, we have recorded increases across all the 3 months of the quarter. In October, we had an increase of 230. In November, we had an increase of 128. In December, we had an increase of 303. And the only 3 provinces that have recorded decreases in terms of the carjacking was the Free State with 3 counts less, Northwest with 4 counts less, and the Western Cape with 16 counts less. The highest increase that I can observe from here is in Gauteng with 478, followed by the Eastern Cape with 90. Then in terms of the stations, in terms of the volume, the highest volumes of carjacking were reported in Harare, Nyanga, Philippi East, Umlazi, and Orange Farms, making the top 5 carjacking stations where most of the volumes of the carjackings have been reported. Robbery at the residential premises, we have recorded decreases across all the months. The only provinces that have recorded increases was Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, Mpumalanga, and the Northern Cape. Then the breakdown of the top 30 station, the first one was Plessis Liar, Kwadukuza, Umlazi, Honeydew, and Escaleni, making up the top 5. Then at non-residential, we had recorded a decrease in October. However, in October and November, in November and December, we recorded increases of 54 and 100 respectively. And the provinces that had recorded decreases in terms of robbery non-res was Gauteng with 70, KwaZulu-Natal 72, and the Western Cape with 10. Then in terms of the volume of robbery non-residential, the highest was Johannesburg Central, East London, Rustenburg, Devon Central, and GP, making up the top 5. Robberies of cash in transit, we had decreases in the month of October and December and of 3 and 7 respectively. Then in the month of November, we had an increase of 5. Then the provinces that recorded decreases in terms of the cash in transit robberies was Gauteng with 9, Mpumalanga with 1, the Western Cape with 5, and we never had an incident within this current quarter in the Northern Cape. Then in terms of kidnapping, we had increases across all the months of October, November, and December. In October, we had an increase of 225 in terms of kidnapping. In November, we had 283. In December, we had 178. And the provinces that recorded decreases in terms of kidnapping was the province of the Free State and the Western Cape. The other 7 provinces recorded increases. In terms of the station breakdown, we had Inanda at number 1, Johannesburg Central at number 2, Randfontein at number 3, Tembisa at number 4, and Mondio at number 5, making the top 5 kidnapping stations. Then in terms of the causative circumstances that lead to kidnapping from the different sample sizes, whereby we tried to draw stratified samples across the provinces so that we can ensure that there is a probability proportional to size across all the provinces. We looked at most of the kidnapping were attributable to hijacking related, whereby we had 523 of the hijackings, kidnapping that were hijacking related. And of these 523 in Gauteng, 115 involved instances where delivery vans were attacked. Then we also had 95 instances of kidnapping that were hijacking related in KZN, of which 12 were where delivery vans were targeted. Then in the Western Cape, we had 32 hijacking related kidnappings, whereby in 15 incidents, delivery vans were targeted. Then we also had robbery related kidnappings, whereby we had 130 in the Gauteng province, we had 73 in KZN, then we had 28 in Mpumalanga, and 29 in the Western Cape. And then we also had instances whereby children were removed from parents or guardians without the permission, whereby we had 16 of these happening in Gauteng, 10 in the Western Cape, 9 in KZN. Then I think in terms of property related, we recorded decreases across all the months, and then we also recorded decreases across all the provinces. The top 30 stations, we had Cape Town Central, Brook Lane, Honeydew, Rustenburg, and Park Road making the top 5 property-related crime stations. And in terms of the increases, we had Cambridge, East London, Roodepoort, Kagisanong, and Stellenbosch recording the highest count differences. Then stock theft, we had an increase in the month of November of 138, and October and December both decreased by 250 and 338. The provinces that increased was KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, and the Northwest. And these are the top stations in terms of volume: Utrecht, Ulu, Umbu, Amangwe, Manfred. And then in terms of the increases, we had Ngobo, Utrecht, Macheni, Mabatu, and Tsol. And that is the last of my presentation. The rest is just the provincial breakdown in terms of how the crimes have been reported in the station. And to the members of the media who are interested, the presentation, the full comprehensive presentation, I believe now is already on the SAPS website, together with the provincial breakdowns and also the top 30 stations per crime per province. So, Minister, National Commissioner, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Major General Sikopone, for that thorough presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard the opening remarks from the Minister of Police, and you've also heard the breakdown of the figures. And now we're going to open up for some questions.
If they are.
As well as the organization that you represent.
We should not force them to ask
I want
questions.
to also just alert the members of the media that we do have all the 9 provincial commissioners present with us here today. And let's see those hands. Okay, I see one. Okay, Ronald, you can go ahead.
Good afternoon, Ronald Masina from Bheki Cele. Minister, I have to ask you this question, and it's based on comments you made this week during the solar debate, that you had it on good authority that someone was trying to oust you from your position. Tell us more, Minister. Is there any truth? Do you have any evidence?
Ronald, I'm sure you are one of many journalists that are going to be posing questions outside this briefing. Can I kindly ask that we start with the questions about the briefing, and then after that we can certainly answer questions that are outside the briefing. I think that's fair. Newsroom? Okay, next round. There you go. Put on your microphone, please.
Hi Minister, this is Maria here from Times Live. You mentioned that there will be GBV desks set up around the country. to assist victims. Could you please elaborate on what specifically will be happening at these desks? What kind of services will they provide, and what kind of training will be given to ensure that safety is the priority? Thank you.
All right, thank you for that question. Any other takers? So you do have one, okay, go ahead, yes, yeah.
Minister, me again. This morning during Parliament's Portfolio Committee meeting, you mentioned one of the challenges fighting crime with regards to police finding it difficult to fight crime in densely populated communities. How are you as a minister going forward and your department going to improve on this aspect?
All right, let's just take one more question for this first round. Go ahead, brother.
Afternoon, Minister. My name is Bulelani from SABC. Just as a follow-up to Ronald's question, the time when Yanga East was the highest murder capital in the country, there was a concern there that the access to police station was too far to the residents, which was one of the contributing factors to the high murder rate. I see now it's standing at number 15 for that particular quarter. Do you not think that one of the contributing factors, given that you've General Skukone outlined 4 of the major contributing factors to murder, but the issue of access that is within the proximity of the immediate communities that are ravaged by crime is one of the biggest contributors to the murder rate. The second question with respect to Leranzo, I think this is a question that has to be asked in this particular press conference. It's quite commendable that the minister is sitting next to General Ketlas, but do you think that the disputes or the tug of war that you have paralyzes or gives a low morale to the cops who are working on the ground, given that you're continuously making disputing statements to each other? Do you not think that also paralyzes the cops on the ground, given that there is no coherent leadership within SAPS? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bulelane, and just to give you clarity, I did mention that you can ask those questions just on the second round of questioning. So you were not prevented from asking those questions. But let's take those responses, Minister, Generals.
All these about him and me, he's going to answer. Thanks, Bulelani, to notice the Nyanga, because whenever we used to come here, we knew it's almost like Nanda and Mlazi and Lusigisigi now. There are 2 things. I think the accessibility on policing was increased with the coming up of Harare police station, which we all agree. And that's a decision we're taking, the South African police, that getting the resources, it will help to make not a university huge police stations, but that are far from the communities. If you can have many medium size, but every community will be able to walk to the police station rather than take the transport going there. So Harare Nyanga has really told us that put them, make people walk there, because quite a stress has been taken by Harare from Nyanga. But besides, I was there 2-3 months ago with Imbizo, and the people there asked, where have you been with this present police station? His name is Brigadier Nat. People said, where you have been with this, which means the management also, they say this is the best police station, best commander that police station ever had. So once people say so, you can see the impact. We also went to Mitchell's Plain, where people demanded that extend 10 years for this commissioner here, So those are the things that we encourage, and that impact of management works. Maybe one can take that opportunity that as we are seated here, we want to change policing to the station level now. The accountability at the provincial and national will have to go. The station commanders must tell us on daily basis what happens around them, where did those people where were killed around that station, did everybody come to work the previous night, was the station commander there, they come at the station level, because reducing coming down there, it does make the impact rather than dealing with the provinces. And then I'm sure the commissioner with working with the station commanders, you can't have a station that is permanently there in the top 8. They'll have to move. So if they don't move, people that are running those stations have to move. Either it's a crime moving or people moving. So it will help. But Nyanga, and as you say, the accessibility will really help. The GBV desk, one of the major complaints that have been there is that our members just don't understand the gravity and the pain of a woman, especially that comes to report to the police station that has been abused, even raped by a man, either husband or whoever. For that woman to be told to go back and negotiate. Usually, first time she'll go back to negotiate, second time. Third time she won't come back because she's dead by then. So this training of these people that are there are specially trained to be able to understand that and be able to take on board that situation and be able to assist the detectives that will be dealing with that case and able to have the follow-ups if it needs be. One problem that we are having is that families and friends don't help victims. They are more on the side of perpetrators. 4 weeks ago, there was in the social media one woman who was really bruised around. She was bruised. And the police went to arrest that person that is in Pretoria. The perpetrator, no, the victim, who happens to be working for the correctional service, has phoned that she has moved away from home because her mother is putting pressure to go and withdraw the case. So the people at the receiving desk will be able to understand those matters and continue to assist the victim even outside the perimeter of the police station, because you understand the gravity of this case. So those desks for now of 300 plus police stations are there, but you want to put all those desks and better understanding on 1,154 stations in the whole Republic of South Africa, which will that kind of stat also helps the investigation, which gives us better outcomes as it goes to courts, as it goes to prosecution and all that. It is on that score that we are. The environmental design, we call it environmental design. It's you live here in Cape Town. I don't know if you have been at that place called COVID-19. I think I went there with Abu Natif Same. And it's a place that when the dark falls, the dark has fallen. You can't see beyond your hand. There is nothing called street there. You get on your side, because I'm too big to fit on those passages, and you come at the dead end of it. There's nothing called lighting, no electricity, no roads, no water, no street lights, no house numbers. So anything that is done by a certain criminal that gets there, you just won't find that person. Even if they tell you that ungenela, you just won't follow. So these environmental designs, I hope will be coming to the media soon. We are developing a strategy, crime strategy, that is taking across the government rather than making it a police matter to fight crime. And everybody agrees that fighting crime is not just a police issue, but is across the board. That has gone to the committee of the cabinet. The cabinet has sent it back to do more workshops and invite more people, so that when we have a problem with COVID-19, human settlement must be there to answer. When are they going to deal with those things? The social development must be there. Designing of schools must be there. I went to Hanover one day. I had a meeting at 11 on the school day. Were more school kids in the meeting than the children, and that tells you that you have a problem there when kids don't attend school in terms of gangsterism and all that kind of stuff. So the famous question that both you have asked, maybe starting with yours. I raised an issue that there was a meeting. That meeting has been confirmed. That it did take place. Well, I was not in the meeting, so I can't tell you exactly what happened in the particular meeting. But it did take place, and I wasn't there. It has been explained what happened to the meeting, and that has been fine for me. I hear SAPCU say continuously. I don't know what you mean by continuously. I don't know what you mean by continuously. I think continuously we are working together to deal with the crime, which does not mean that time does not come where we see things differently. Yes, indeed, it would be fine to deal with those things privately if we can, but to say we will have to see things in the same way all the time and agree, I think that would be fake working relationships. I'm sure if you are not married and you have girlfriends, I can see you are married. You are not going to tell me that there is no conflict in your house. You are not. Absolutely not. If it is so, please help us all. How do we deal with such a situation? So in the work situation, in the family situation, in the world situation, where there are people that are living and working together and sharing life, there will be forever those situations. I guess sometimes problem of different opinion between myself and the commissioner sometimes has been exaggerated by whoever that exaggerates. But indeed, I'll be lying if I come back and say every time it would be Harry Perry that you are working very well. It doesn't even happen in my house with my kids, with my wife, my sisters. It doesn't. There are days where you see that today it would be better if these things happened that way. But continuously, I don't agree with that statement. But continuously working together, I surely agree with that statement. From my side, that would be that. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Minister. National Commissioner, would you like to respond to some of the questions?
It seems no question was directed to me, but anyway, everyone expect me to talk. Maybe can I start maybe by adding to the minister by saying fools never differ. They always agree. And therefore, people who apply their mind to situations and look at what is strategically correct to direct an organization in a country. They will always bring views, and views may not be the same. Unless they bring them together, at the end when they agree, then it becomes a solution either to the organization or to the country. And when things are clarified, nothing is personal. And nothing is about anyone. It's more about SAPS and it's more about the country. And we put the country's interest at heart. And I also want to further indicate that, as the minister explains, to me, from a career corps perspective, he always remains the minister no matter what he says and what he do. And from a discipline's point of view, I can never disrespect him. But if I fear to tell him the truth, then I will be doing an injustice to the country, because it's also my responsibility to give operational advice to him, to say, this is where SAPS must go. And again, it is also equally my responsibility to defend SAPS' interest and make sure that the organization is decontaminated and it serves the interest of the country. So I think the minister has explained it. I also don't remember us having a showdown. And it will also be irresponsible of me to exchange words with the minister. We've never. But it is also our collective responsibility. If the minister sees anything that is not right, to say it on the spot and not even postpone it because it may go wrong. But how he says it is his language that he uses, and I will also get used to that particular language. But it is a tug of war. I also don't remember it. And I will still continue to say things the way I say them, in the interest of the South African police members, in the interest of the members on the ground, without taking anything personal. That's how I would treat this one. I'm sure my words, though we say in different ways, I think, but they are complementary. I just also wanted to add on the strategy that the minister has related to on the policing of the densely populated areas, that we are also introducing drone policing to provide an interim technology solution. And that drone policing has also been adopted as one of the sub-core priorities at regional level. And we're also equally extending it even to borders. Then on the service delivery, the access, we've also escalated what the minister has related to as university police stations and police stations that should provide a quick solution to create service delivery access. We've escalated that to a service delivery access strategy, which is a rapid service delivery, a rapid strategy. So we've done a study across the country so that you were able to provide that rapid service delivery access in order to reach out to those communities. Thank you very much. These are the comments I wanted to make.
Thank you very much, General. we're going to now open it to the second round. Hopefully it's the last round. But before I open it up in Cape Town, I believe that we do have questions on WhatsApp. Colonel Martin, can you take us through those questions, please?
Thank you, Lorenzo. We've got 4 questions from the GCIS WhatsApp group. The first 2 questions are posed to Minister Cele, and they are from Thulasizwe Simelane from ENCA. The first question reads as follows: is the planned recruitment of 12,000 officers this year over and above the 10,000 officers whose recruitment was announced by your Deputy Castle Matale in November last year? Or are we merely increasing the number by 2,000 to make it 12,000? The second question reads as follows: given the fact that the planned recruitment of 7,000 officers was stalled in 2020, and there was also no intake in 2021, and your deputy also told us that we had a net loss of 8,000 officers last year for various reasons, including attrition, do you accept that recruiting 12,000 officers in the 3rd year since the last intake does nothing to improve the police population ratio in a country whose population is now estimated at 60 million? The third question is posed to both Commissioner and Minister, and it reads as follows: the expert panel report on the July unrest highlights this toxic dynamic between you as one of the factors at play in the poor coordination of the response. I suggest that you have both failed the citizens dismally while engaged in an ego-driven petty squabble, while citizens are under siege from criminals, and on the basis of the report alone, both of you should not be in your positions today. Your comment, please. The fourth question, Lorenzo, is from Nandika Bukis, a freelance journalist, and it is directed to Minister Cele. The question reads as follows: the HRC has confirmed that you will appear before the second part of its hearings into the July unrest on Monday. Can you confirm this, and how do you feel about appearing before the hearing in light of the report by the expert panel and the findings made? That's all from my side. Thank you, Lorenzo.
Thank you very much, Colonel. Let's take those 4 questions.
The third question comes from?
That's the good question. What the third question, Colonel?
Comes from?
What does it come from?
Third or fourth?
The second last question.
The second last comes from Thulasizwe Simelane from ENCA.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Number of recruitments. Well, indeed, like all other parts of life, we suffered. Nobody didn't suffer out of COVID-19. Life stalled for all of us. So we will be starting life again. Indeed, the number of police and the ratio has been reduced, even before the COVID-19. I remember that the year 2010, 2011, we had about 2011, 2012, we had about 195,000 police, and the population was 50 million that time. If I'm not mistaken, we're down 177 now, or 180 some odds. 180 some odds with a 60 million population. Indeed, something there needs to be done. But as the cluster would all raise the concern that prosecutors are less, judges are less, magistrates are less, the correctional service officers are less. So that's that. This 12,000 that is training will be trained will help us to mostly to bring the new blood in the organization, but also to enhance the special units within the organization. If you read your Falam Commission, tells you that we need to have 14 or 12,000 members of the POP. We have 5,000 at the present moment. Unfortunately, we need to be much younger to be in the POP. Not only that, there are other units. it will help us really to deal with those. The training is not necessarily that will be covering those 2 years, but the training will continue after that. Maybe explaining in next 2 financial training years, because of the capacity of the colleges, President wants 12. So we're breaking it to 7, 5, and 3. We expect that in 2 years we would have trained 15, even more than what the President has instructed us to do. And indeed, it's still not going to cover. And we see as we go on with the years. We're talking with the Minister of Finance, whom I must say that the President and the Minister of Finance are very sympathetic to the cause of the police going forward. We hope that gives the answer of the police. Somebody has given that from 2010 to now, we're almost 18,000 down, even before we come to chase the population. So if we train, maybe in 2 years, we go for 15,000, we might begin on the 3rd year of training to go beyond the equity and beyond to chase the ratio going forward. This question of the fight between the Commission and myself, we have answered it. But if Tula Sizwe feels that we should not go on the job, he knows who employs us. He knows definitely it's not him that is employing us. I'm sure we'll be fired by now if it is him. But the issues have been taken as we have answered that, we spend so much time, we meet almost every fortnight. Maybe each time we meet, we'll have to make a press conference. Make a press conference, just 2 of us, or invite you to come in the meeting. But sometimes the matters are very sensitive, so we can't invite you. That's why I answered that question by saying continuously, because we meet and we sit down and we talk about the matters. And we don't meet over coffee, we don't meet over the bottle of black, of Johnny Walker Black. No, we just meet to work, and we allow those work confrontations, if we need to be, to find the better answer, as has been raised, to say we really don't meet because we are friends. We meet because we are working, and there will be different opinions here and there, and we hammer those different opinions to come out with things. Most of the results of the things you see are things that are taken together. Sometimes just the meetings, mostly just 2 of us, and unfortunately we both don't have knives and guns to shoot one another. But each time we go to these meetings, we come out, and we have no bodyguards to look after us as we meet on those meetings. Not undermining the question to Lasizwe that raised of July matters, and we all agree that things could have been better, but also things could have been worse. It's a pity that nobody picks up those things that were worked to, while the situation was bad, those things that were worked for the situation not to have escalated even worse. There is those that have gone to Etegwin, there is a mall there called Pavilion. That provincial commissioner, Nkwanas, did something that was not supposed to do. He sent the special task force. Special task force is not sent to deal with crowd control, but that mall stood because that was done together with the communities there and all that. That Africa, as you come in Alex, that was the first mall that was defended by the police. By the way, is where the police was shot. The police was shot by the crowd, but that mall standing and was defended by the police even before the soldiers came. The Maponya Mall, well, for some reason, the media only chose to show the people that were there. There was no Dudula at the time. It was Ntantalax. And as they were there were 54 police that were there in that mall. There were 54. And unfortunately, I don't know why, to such an extent that people that were arrested by the community were immediately handed over to the police. And the General Mtombeni, who was a deputy commissioner of Mali, was physically there. But such things that those members of community were working with the police are played down. One Liberty Mall in Maritzburg. If you go there, the management will tell you to say bravo to the members of the South African police together with the community. When you go to, there are quite several of them, you go to Richards Bay, the community and the management of the mall have given the awards to the police the way they were gone. It could have been worse, bad, we agree, but it could have been worse. But there was a lot of work that happened. So the question of going to the tomorrow, that's Monday, is a continuation. There will be questions, there will be answers. We go home. Thanks.
Thank you, Minister. Let us then take the last round of questions. Kwali, you have been waiting for a while, my brother, and then we will give you from Africa, and you and the last one from the SA. Go ahead.
From the Weekend Argus newspaper. In Cape Town, just this week from the weekend up until now, there were 25 murders. 9 of those murders were women. I think this question is directed to the commissioner. I just want to ask the commissioner, what is happening? Would you say that just this week alone of this year was the most murderous week we've had so far this year? And then to you, Minister, when you got these stats and looked at the rape and murders, do you go to sleep and think that your department, your ministry, is turning the tide, is working? Do you feel that there is something that you're doing, or do you feel that you are somehow failing to protect South Africans? My last question is about the recent sentencing of a serial killer in Worcester. Siamcela Sobambela was sentenced 25 years in prison, where he confessed to killing 3 people, and the families feel that this is a light sentence. I mean, taking 3 lives and confessing. The judge did argue that he's a first-time offender and he assisted the police in finding the bodies and stuff. And you as a minister, do you feel that such sentencing is okay, 25 years for killing 3 people? Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go for that one.
Nasipi from Newsroom. This one is for the minister. With the Operation Dudula, you just mentioned it now, which is led by Ntantalax. They are asking now people to obviously produce their IDs and removing people that they allege are illegal immigrants.
So what I want to find out is what has intelligence revealed about this particular group, and are they operating within the constraints of the law, and if so or not, what is their options available? What is the options available to the group? Thank you.
All right. Natalie?
Natalie Malchus from ETV News.
Do they come as ask questions?
I think my question is for the National Commissioner or the Western Cape Police Commissioner. It's around resources in the rural areas. Just following from a previous question, over the last few weeks we've seen several bodies turn up. Tilbach just this week, a shooting incident in Piketberg, and of course we know the Carver incident of that 13-year-old boy. What do police resources look like in the rural areas, and are they enough? We've heard from the community, and they say they aren't. They're being neglected and overlooked. Do police resources, are they backed up in those rural areas?
Fantastic. Let's take the last bite from UNCA.
Minister Megan, an increase of 13.8% in car hijackings is a concern. How are police dealing with this matter? How many of these vehicles are found to have crossed the country's borders? And how much of corruption is taking place, if that's the case?
Thank you. With your permission, Minister, could I request the Western Cape Police Commissioner to answer those two questions directed to him? I'd ask that you join me on this podium here, so it will be easier.
I will add that the Gauteng PC answers on Tutula, because but Tutula yena lapha.
Wonderful. So it will be the Police Commissioner of the Western Cape and the Police Commissioner of Gauteng who are going to take those questions directed to them, and then after we will take the last bite from the Minister as well as the National Commissioner.
Thank you, Ranjan. Thank you to the Minister and the National Commissioner and Deputy National Commissioners, all Provincial Commissioners and the media. Yes, any one person that states too many. But of concern, we agree, the killing of women this weekend has been a concern to all of us. And what we are doing is to look at the causal factors of those. That's the first thing. And to mobilizing more community involvement in assisting us. Because if one of those two, what we know for now is that one was an ex-boyfriend who was also subsequently attacked by the mob and killed. And most of those bodies were dumped. And that can only be somebody else can have seen something happening, in which we are inviting community to assist us to identify the perpetrators. It's more strategies and more everyday changing the plans with the community, getting more community involvement. But I must say, many of the communities within the areas that were hotspots, they are responding. For example, this weekend, we even have men's dialogue in Kalija, which is most wonderful, and is the launch of the spiritual convention provincially with all the religious fraternities, not only faith-based organizations. So we are calling upon all stakeholders, especially the young formations, to join hands with us. Now, we're coming to the resources. As the Minister was saying, resources will never be enough. The rural areas, yes, they are all as affected as the city. But we are actually working hand in hand with the municipalities in those areas, with their law enforcement and security companies in those areas to synergize in fight against crime. Whoever who is there is fighting crime, we join hands with them. And I think that is paying dividends in many areas, because small towns, we don't have many policemen, a few, but because of the community participation, But one incident in a small town becomes a big one because they are not used in that environment, which is we're not also saying one incident. One incident is too many. We're hoping that with the plans that we more aggressively looking at community engagement. We just right now, as we speak, underway with our strategic plan for this direction for the next coming financial year, where we're looking at how best we go far to get more community engagement and participation in fight against crime and more education. That's how we're going to be going as we move. But we are inviting and requesting, appealing to all communities to join hands with us, to help them, to help us. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much, General Bheki Cele. We now call on General Mawela to also give some answers.
Honourable Minister, National Commissioner, thank you very much for the opportunity. The South African Police Service have adopted community policing as one of their corporate strategy to enhance partnership. So we have to work with the people to fight against crime. But that partnership must be within the ambit of the law. It must be guided by the laws of the land. So the issue of Dudula, whether they have the right to can go around and ask people to produce passport and so forth, they don't have that right. The law as it stands right now and currently, it gives that responsibility to the police and immigration officers. As to go and enforce the issues of the labor relation, that function is given to the labor inspectors. So they are overreaching. We don't mind if the people, they become our eyes and ears to fight crime in South Africa. We'll definitely welcome that kind of an assistance. But if they overreach, surely it is our responsibility, because we are charged with the responsibility of enforcing the laws of the land. We'll definitely call upon them, and if they don't, we'll apply the laws of the land without fear or favor or any prejudice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, General. I would then request the National Commissioner to take us through the responses, and then we'll have the last word from the Minister.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity, and thanks for the questions. I think the question that has been directed to me is the murder question, which I also think that the PC of the Western Cape has also given some few responses based on it. But the first thing that I just want to point out with regard to murder is that we are now sitting with injured human and spiritual values from the side of the communities. And these are contributing towards the deterioration of the moral fiber. Many people no longer fear to kill the others. I think killing each other, it has now become a problem. But then in terms of the approaches, we require both community, situational, and developmental crime prevention approach, which is multidisciplinary in nature. I think it requires all of us to work together and provide a collective front. But then from the side of the police, we have then been explicit to say the rate of murder where it is now, it requires a specialized intervention, which is one of the reasons why we then decided to reinstate the specialized units. With the recruitment slowing down, I think we also equally slowed down the beefing up of the capacity of the specialized units, because, like, for instance, murder and robbery unit, I have already approved the work study, and few other specialized units that helps to respond to murder. But now that the 7,000 recruitment process is unlocked, I think we will then be able to beef up this particular capacity. So crime detection, which include DPCI in terms of capacity building, and then we are going to be treating this as a high priority. But there's also been mention made by both General Mawela and Bheki Cele of the community interventions. What we can then touch on here is the introduction of traditional policing, where we also mobilize traditional leaders to help us to provide a solution to this, especially bringing communities on board. But finally, we also need to venture into technology. I think the safer city concept, we started with the 10 pilots, now we are at 20. But the more we bring technology coverage to cities, this is where most of these activities are taking place. I think then what I then also wanted to add is on the resources to the rural areas, just to say we have introduced an integrated resource strategy in the organization, and this integrated resource strategy, among others, is looking at the distribution and redistribution of resources, which is intended to strike a balance between resourcing both the urban areas as well as the rural areas. So it's a principle from national, which complement what General Bheki Cele has related on. And lastly, on the carjackings, it's just a confirmation that yes, this is a cross-border crime, is a transnational crime, and most of the vehicles are making their way. The market is spread throughout the region, and obviously is making its way towards other countries in the continent. But we are organizing ourselves and strengthening the implementation of the cooperation agreements, both at SAPCO level, SADC level, AFRIPOL and Interpol level, in order to try and provide a collective response. Thank you.
To add on the last answer, and say, especially here, when numbers of carjack were given, there was other element that was put, the delivery vans. There are those that are hijacked because of the contents, not because they want the cars themselves. And we have agreed that we'll put a new column, especially in Western Cape. I'm sure you saw that Harare and Delft, they're high on, so mostly it will be delivery. And they are, after they've been emptied, they are found, those cars. But that does not play on the facts put by the National Commission to say there are those luxury cars. I'm not going to tell you the kinds here to give some people the ideas that they are hot in the market, those cars. So it is that, for instance, like here, it should be most of delivery cars, because it will be very difficult for a car to be stolen here and taken to the border. So one other thing that increases hijack here, it has been special Langa and Nyanga of the what you call Ubers. So we have requested that people that go to those areas, they report as they come in the police station, because sometimes they are called, they get in the car, as they leave either Nyanga or Langa, they are stopped, they are robbed and all that. Others, they take the car from point A to point B, and they abandon the car once they reach their destination. So there are many things that contribute on that, but we need to shut down all those things that are causing such thing. Do I sleep at night? You know, I went to Germany in 2010. We're preparing for our World Cup. Yes. At about 3 in the morning, we saw these 2 young ladies. Babemnandi, they were bekahle nje. And walking alone. This is 3 o'clock in the morning. You ask them, aren't you scared? They say, no, we can't be scared in this country. All men, they know that they are men when they protect women. That's what those young ladies said to me. And my first statement, as I was asked, coming back as a commissioner and now, was to say, the measurement of the safety is when a young woman walks alone in the middle of the night without fear. But people that will have to help us is not the police and not the judges, are men. Those are the people that will have to there was, I missed out over the weekend, there was Imbizo here, Yamatota here in Western Cape. I think those are the things. Maybe we need to put to a stop the Imbizo of women and all, and men must work on themselves. Men must work on themselves when it comes to this one. The question you raise, even one single person raped will give you a sleepless night, especially if you're a father, you're a husband, you're a brother, because when there is a rape at any given time, it's somebody's mother that is raped, it's somebody's sister, it's somebody's daughter. So even if you're not a minister of police or a national oil police, any human being will really give you a nightmare. It does give us nightmares, a lot of them, when it comes. That's why we are trying to put so much effort, we're putting so much shoulder on the wheel when it comes to this one. This question of Sambulo, who is this guy? The one that has been given 25 years for 3 murders and rapes? Let me tell you, there are things that I'm not a lawyer. At least Bheki Cele is an advocate. This guy has got two doctorates in law. This guy, he's a doctor of laws. They just can't tell us how does it happen. How does it happen? And we're talking with the chief of staff as we're getting out of the office. What is this? Without blaming anybody, but I was asking, you see, in Matubatuba, somebody was arrested and he got 15 years and 16 years for killing father and son. 15 for son, 16 for father, and I'm told it's concurrent, which means that it's 7 years. For killing both father and son. You ask me as a person, and I will really always wonder, what happened? I don't know the law. I don't know the first offender. If you say the judge was the first offender, but there are 3 cases, he could not have offended once. Then offended 1, 2, 3. So it could not be the first offender. But I'm not going to sit here and query those things, but I would really love to be explained. How do you kill father and son and you get 16 and 15 years for killing those 2 people? So it's an issue that all of us will have to really get sleepless night on it. The last question, it's the sentences. Well, this is a question I've just answered of the relevance sometimes of the Nasipi. I just want to add on this. You see, as police, we have a serious problem. Before, if there was going to be a march, people going together and all, there will be a meeting between the police and those people that are marching, or relevant authorities, or the metro and all that. They will talk on the route, they'll talk on the reason why, in terms of time and the figures. That will make police to prepare better. But the Concord came with a wonderful judgment that said, if you want to march, you tell nobody, you ask nobody. You wake up the next morning, you go where you want to go, you do what you want to do, and police can only act if you break the law, which means you'll have to ban something, and the police say, now you're breaking the law. You will have to go around and do things that you're not supposed to do. But I want to repeat, these police, especially from Gauteng, they are instructed to stop nonsense. Nobody has a right to move around. You are not going to break the law because you are fighting against the crime. You need to work within the laws. Communities are highly invited, I want to repeat, are highly invited to work with the police, with the law enforcement agencies. But they are not invited to take the law in their own hands. So it's important that we work on that, and with that understanding. You can't just break the law because you feel I'm committing the law. But things like citizen arrest, if you are seen and all that, hand over to the police and talk to the police and invite and be invited by the police, that is fine to happen. We have an experience where people, they start like this and they end up being monsters. Your Pahat, you were here in this Western Cape. That's how it started. So we're not going to be beaten twice on the matter. We'll have, because some people, they do things using the emotions of the people as if, and they know exactly what to want to do. So Pahat experience must be mobilized, and we understand that this happened. And remember what they ended up doing when they started as a good intentions and all that kind of stuff. So we're watching that thing very, very, very closely. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. Let's end this day on that note, inviting communities to participate in the overall fight against crime. With that, Minister, I'd like to thank all the Deputy National
So there's a crossing point, then. There's a crossing point. Outside. Yeah, that's okay.